Hello, everyone. It's Helen here with Helen. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully, everybody is doing well. Today, I'm going to share with you a dream that I just recently had. Now, this is no ordinary dream. This was a very profound dream. In fact, over the last couple months, I've had a couple profound dreams. And in the Bible, people oftentimes had dreams, and God was relaying different things to them through their dreams. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. However, I hope not after I tell you the dream. However, I do wonder what the meaning was behind these dreams, because when I woke up, this was one of those dreams where you're like, and I remembered every single detail that had happened in this dream. So I'm only going to talk about one of them today, and then maybe on another video, I'll talk about the other one because they're completely different. So in my dream, I was standing at the mall here in my local city. So I was standing at the mall, which I have a history at this mall. It goes way back. You got to go back like 30 years history. So my first job was up at this mall, and this mall was the place to be. I tell you, I was working at the movie theater, but it had the best restaurants. It had the coolest stores, the best jewelry stores. It had an arcade. It had everything that you can imagine up at this mall. So I had a lot of history up here. I worked at the movie theater. I was an assistant manager at one of the jewelry stores, and I was a manager at one of the clothing stores. And so I spent so many years. And so obviously it was an important place to me at one point in time. Today it has changed a little bit. It's still around, but there's maybe like 10 stores up there, maybe a few more, but it's not the mall that it was. However, it still has that sentimental value to me because even when I'm up there now, I'm like, I miss it. So I'm not surprised that I was up at the mall in this dream. However, I'm standing there up at the mall in the food court, which is how it is today. So it was kind of like a ghost town up there. There wasn't all the places up there that were open, but I was standing there and there were a bunch of people just coming in through the doors, and they were people that I knew. They were friends. They were family. I remember in the dream feeling very sad. I was having deep conversations with people, and then my pastor came in and I was having a conversation with him. So here I am talking to him, and then shortly after, I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, like my whole life goes before me. Like I start thinking about all the different things that had happened in my life. I start reminiscing on working at my first job at the movie theater. I start thinking about the relationships I've had, some of the good things in my life that have happened, some of the bad things, some of the monumental things. It was like a flash of my life, like going before me. And then I realize in this moment that all of these people have shown up because it's my funeral. Everybody is there that day because they were going to have a service for me. All right, so in my dream, I had cancer. I had terminal cancer in my dream, and I had chosen not to do chemo, probably for the fact, at least this is what I remember in the dream, because my body doesn't tolerate things very well, like medication. If you watch some of my videos and you've seen some of my health things, you know how my body responds, and it's not well to anything. And so in the dream, I couldn't take chemo. Therefore, they were going to put me to sleep that day. There was going to be a doctor who was going to show up. He was going to put an IV in me, and they were going to put me to sleep. So I knew that my next waking place would be heaven in my dream. However, I wasn't scared. I was actually really at peace. But there was one thing that kept coming to me. It was, what if I could have just one more day? If I could have one more moment here? Do I have to leave today? Can I not leave tomorrow? And I remember thinking to myself as people were taking their seats and the pastor was standing up in the front, I was like, oh, would it be too late to send all these people home and tell them, I'm not ready yet. I want tomorrow still. And then maybe we'll come back and we'll do this. And then there was that part of me that was just like, no, I didn't want to inconvenience them. They were all there for me. The pastor was there, the doctor had arrived, the guests were sitting down. And so I was taking my chair, I was leaning back, everybody was getting me prepped. The IVs were getting connected into my arm up here in the mall. My mom was standing by my side and she was holding my hand. And I remember like closing my eyes and I was thinking to myself like, okay, this is it. I was chewing on gum. Now this is how specific it was. And this is a crazy part of it, but how detailed. I was chewing on gum. And then I was thinking to myself like, well, when I pass away, I don't want to have gum in my mouth, you know? So I took it out and I'm like, here, wrap this up really quick. And so I remember closing my eyes, and then I remember this feeling where I knew like, okay, my next waking thought is going to be with Jesus. And so they started to inject the medicine, but all of a sudden I knew, don't die in your dream. And it was like, get up. And I woke up. Guys, that was my dream. I woke up and I was just like, I remembered everything. It was so vivid. It was so powerful that I thought about it for days. Like I literally told everyone that morning, like I was in tears talking about it. I was just like, oh my goodness. I just experienced a flash of my whole life. I experienced like almost my death in this dream and how profound it was to me. So I was like, God, what are you trying to tell me? What did that dream mean? Is there anything behind it? Are you trying to tell me something? So a few days later, I was watching one of my pastors on TV, which I do, and he got to talking. He was talking about King David and the life of King David and the life that King David had lived. And there was something that stuck out to me in this particular sermon because I was like, it kind of resonated with my soul and the dream that I had had. They were talking about how King David was lying there in his bed and he was about to pass away. He knew he was. So King David, the fighter, the warrior, the one who had lived this crazy life, you know, started as a shepherd boy, ended up killing Goliath with a stone. He was on the run. He became the king. He was dethroned, became the king again, had loves, had children, had lived a full life walking with God, even danced before God at one point. I mean, we were talking about King David, and no longer was he walking through the shadow of the valley of death, but he was facing death head on. And so as he was laying there shivering cold, I believe he probably was thinking about his life, right? All the things that he had been through, like beginning to end. And that's kind of where I was in my dream. I was thinking about all the different things that was flashing before me. And I was thinking to myself, like, I bet King David was having those moments too, when he was on the mountaintop and when he was having his high of highs moments and the low of lows, but just how God was with him his whole entire time. And that to me, like, represented that none of it was in vain. Nothing that's happened in our lives is in vain. God will use it all. Even if we're in a really dark season right now, God's going to use it. You have tomorrow. God's still writing your story, working it out. And I just think if even right now in the moment, you don't have to be on your deathbed, but to think about all the different things that he has brought us through up until this point. And that's exactly what my dream was. But I knew in my dream, I knew the significance, of one more day, like what one day could do, what one day could mean. And I really feel like now I want to look at a day differently, like, whew, I know what that means, because in my dream, when I was about to leave this earth, I just wanted one more moment to feel everything, to taste everything, to see everything, to just be here and be present. It wasn't anything that I needed outside of that. I just wanted to be here and exist. And I think we all want to know that our life meant something, that it meant something, that you did something, anything. And I think that it was a reflection of that. And I'm sure maybe King David had that moment as well. I'm not trying to compare myself to him. However, I was just listening to this sermon and I could like sort of relate. I'm kind of like, whoa, I bet he probably had that moment. I would think, you know, as he laid there cold, freezing, knowing that he was going to leave this earth. And that's how my dream was. And so I feel like maybe that's what God was kind of showing me in a sense, is that Helen, your life does have meaning. It all has meaning, and I can weave everything together perfectly. And value your time here, value a day. There's so much that you can do with just one day, one moment. And I'm never done writing your story. So you're not finished, even if you're going through a bad time right now, which I have been going through a pretty hard time over the last year, 2 years. It's like, I'm not finished with you yet. I'm going to tie it all together like I always do. And one day it's all going to make perfect sense. Just kind of like that vision I had in my dream where everything was just kind of like this. And so anyways, crazy dream. Maybe in another video, I will reveal my other dream, completely different, but still profound. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you got something out of this. God bless.